Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining today's Tridium Talk on Niagara Remote. My name is Nicole Love. I am the product manager for the Niagara Cloud Suite here at Tridium. If you've seen me before in any of the previous Tridium Talks, welcome back. Today, we're going to talk about a new topic. All right, so I mentioned Niagara Cloud Suite. Whether this is your first time or you've been here before, let's just review this part anyway. The Niagara Cloud Suite is a scalable cloud-based solution that helps you provide more secure remote building management services in accordance with Tridium's model of open and extensible integration with devices, services, and applications. The prerequisite to being able to leverage the Niagara Cloud Suite is you need to be on a supported version of the Niagara framework, and you need an active SMA. So why would you use the Niagara Cloud Suite? Well, we'll get into it a little bit more where you can talk about the individual components of it, but this statement here kind of wraps it all together. Leveraging, if you're here, that means you understand who Tridium is. You probably have an idea or currently use the Niagara framework. So that means that's your baseline. Well, if you're leveraging the Niagara framework, the Niagara Cloud Suite offers a trusted, secure source of building data that can be used with any analytics platform or to build a customer's dashboards. So that's Niagara Data Service. If you joined any of our previous Tridium talks on that, if you're currently using the data service or testing data service, then you know that one of the benefits with Niagara Data Service is it allows you to leverage your on-prem installation, bring that data to the cloud, and you can either use our user interface to see your trends and histories, or you can use our APIs, and you can use that to build your own custom dashboards or applications. That's with Niagara Data Service. If you want to save the time and effort of rebuilding your systems in case of data loss, let's say a server crashes for your supervisor, machine crashes for your supervisor, you have hardware failure, and you don't have a good backup of that, then Niagara Recover would be the solution for you because it helps save that time and effort that you might have from data loss. So you don't have to worry about rebuilding all those systems. So thereby providing you with disaster recovery and improved resiliency. And the last statement of this is what we're going to be talking about today. Reduce your on-site time troubleshooting by providing remote access with Niagara Remote. So with all those components that we have even now, Niagara Cloud Suite, it just truly provides a cloud-native collaborative tool that only we can provide because it's using Niagara framework, it's using the work that you've already done, and it's built for you. We've listened to you, and we tried to put some tools in place that answered a lot of the problems that you were having. So when we think about connecting to the Niagara Cloud Suite, along with everything else with Tridium, we have defense in-depth strategy. So there's role-based access. We use encryption. There's a chain of trust via certificate authentication, and we use multi-factor authentication for that as well. So everything that we do, every product that we have, defense is always in mind, cybersecurity is always in mind, and we're always doing the best that we can and making sure that we check every box that we can, have all the tests in place, have all the experts come and look and secure and make sure that we're validated with that, which is why we have some of the certifications that we have now. So remember I told you we were going to talk about all the different components of the Niagara Cloud Suite. So these are the individual services or applications in the Niagara Cloud Suite. So the first one that launched last January, actually, around this time, last January, about a week ago to the year, we launched Niagara Data Service. And with that, we allowed for the first instance of the Cloud Suite to come with the focus on being able to pull in histories to the cloud. So we did all the modeling for you. It brings your contextualized data to the cloud. You can use third-party apps there because we have API access. And then some of the things that we're working on this year in releasing is we're going to bring out some of the things that a lot of you have been asking for. Is we have the histories. You're looking for live data. You want to be able to receive live data, but then also make changes. So we're going to be releasing some features for that, going beta first, of course. Then we're going to do alarm management. And then schedules will be coming. So that's some of the things that we're going to do with Niagara Data Service. That's available now with histories, so you can use that now. But the other things will be come. So keep your eye open for that one. The next service that launched in last October is Niagara Recover. And that allowed for you to do cloud backups. You can do either your baseline backup, you can schedule it, but it's there. We are taking care of that for you. And you can access that from anywhere as long as you have internet access and a browser. and you can make notes for what it is. You can choose a preferred backup. That launched last October. But what launched today, as you might have seen your announcement already, is what we're going to talk about today. It's called Niagara Remote. And that allows you to do remote engineering and monitoring. And as we go through, and I talk to you more a little bit about it, and then we're going to have Kevin Mamajek show you a demo of some of the things that he has in place and how he uses it and the benefits that he's seen from that. You'll get to know more about Niagara Remote. And everything in the Niagara Cloud Suite was designed to simplify your journey to the cloud. You didn't have to do this development. We did it for you. We did this with the same model that we did with the Niagara framework, and making that something that you can use to build on. We're doing the same thing. We're putting some services in place that you didn't have to be able to build out your own journey to the cloud. We can help simplify that for you. We've done a lot of the legwork for you already. And again, we designed it with cybersecurity in mind and protecting your data. So Niagara Remote is a web-based remote access to any Niagara station from an internet-connected browser. So we've tested that, of course, from our laptops. You could have an iPad, as long as it's an internet-connected browser, and you have a subscription, of course, then you can leverage Niagara Remote. And that's to any supervisor or Jace. So in the future, because I know somebody's going to ask, in the future, we will be looking at portability. Right now, we'll be launching with Niagara Supervisor and Jace. So stay tuned. If you have a portability product and you're interested in being able to make sure that we test that and you want to be able to leverage it, make sure you talk to your Tridium partner. And one of the biggest things is when we think about remote access, what are the ways that you typically do that now? Some people have no remote access. Some people are driving to the site. Some people have VPNs in place, and that means that someone had to go out and install that. You had to have IT resources that installed it and that consistently manage it. You might need additional hardware or gateways. Somebody has to do that. You don't need any of that with Niagara Remote. If you have a subscription to Niagara Remote and you do a quick setup, takes about 5 or 10 minutes to be able to configure that with that service, then you're ready to go. All via our cloud management portal. So why Niagara Remote? It increases your productivity. Like, think about what I just said and think about what you do any other time that you use a remote solution. It ends up being able to allow you to save time. So when the pandemic happened, or you might have been remote before then, but think about when you could not get to the space that you needed to go. Remote access was your way to do that. Well, that's what we're trying to do here. There will be times that you, of course, still might have to go to the site, but this reduces the time that you might need to do that, because now you have a remote access option to be able to troubleshoot a Niagara deployment. You can perform your regular engineering and your maintenance work on that station. You use the Niagara UI to be able to check on the status of those stations. So we're really trying to make sure that we're saving you more time, that you can scale out your time a little bit better. Yes, there will be times that someone has to go to the site, but it doesn't have to be all the time. So you could be using that time for something else. And the money that it takes for you to be able to go to a site, we're alleviating that problem for you. So, and the payback should be measured in fewer truck rolls. We've already talked to people about that. We have had some great beta customers in that. Last week at AHR, I got a chance to meet a lot of you, and you really resonated with the reasoning and the purpose and the value of Niagara Remote. And that was one of the biggest things that came up was, if this keeps me from having to do a truck roll or having to send this tech to the truck roll because someone else can do it remotely, then that's payback. So one of the first key features, again, remote login via browser. No additional VPN connected needed, and it's a direct connection to that station. We handle the authentication via our Niagara Cloud Suite management portal, so you don't have to worry about any of that. No one has to manage that on your side, except for users, of course. And then, again, all Niagara defense in-depth features at the supervisory and the Jace levels. So those are some of the key features that everybody has seen, the people who participated in beta has seen, the people who've seen our presentations and we've talked to so far. That's the reason that so many people are interested and excited about Niagara Remote. How does it work? So, of course, first you have to register your supervisor or your Jace in our cloud management portal. You have to be, there's going to be a connection that happens there with a WebSocket on port 443. That's the only thing you have to do. No other firewall rules, outbound only. Then when you log in, So you log in through our management portal, then there's two-factor authentication. I remember I told you that before, so do not get surprised when you try and log into our portal and you have to do two-factor authentication. I'm telling you now, it's there. It's for your good. It's a benefit for you, I promise. And then after that, a remote access session is established on that station's WebSocket connection. And then you're just working remotely. So you log into that Niagara station and you do any of the tasks that are in those web views that are there. And then best practice always. I know a lot of us, I don't do it. I'm former IT, so I actually log out. But log out. But if you don't log out and that's not your practice, it'll time out. But your best practice would still be when you're done, you just log out. You log in, you work, you log out. Easy. I don't know if it's much easier than that. This diagram shows an example of kind of the mechanics of how that happens, more like a visualization of what I've described to you already. You request access to the Niagara Cloud. There's an HTTPS encrypted request that happens there. Two-factor authentication happens from our platform. And then a reverse proxy gets set up to allow connection to the device. And then once we go through all our magic in the background, next thing you see are your Niagara credentials. You are logging in and using whatever your username and password is to that Jace or that supervisor you're connected to. So I hope you remember it because we cannot help you past that point. We've done everything on the cloud side and now you are at that station. So you do what you would normally do with that login. Now here's some of the beta feedback that we got. Simple to use. That was the goal. The goal was that we took a lot of that hard work away from you. And all you had to do was do some configuration on the station side, set up the correct users and permissions in the cloud side, and then do those clicks that I mentioned. And that was validated by you guys during beta. Really easy to access anything. These are quotes, by the way. This isn't me making stuff up. Like these are actual quotes from people who tried it. Makes it really easy to access anything. Connected like I was directly connected. That was one of the things that I made sure that I was asking, like, well, performance-wise, how did that work for you? Did you have any concerns with performance? Was it slow? Nope, connected like it was directly connected. I love to hear that. Easy to access stations that would otherwise be inaccessible. That is proof that everything I said before and what our goal is, it happened. You guys said, yeah, that was easy. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to access that remotely, right? So I'm putting this slide here, and the reason I put that there is that was a lot of the good feedback. We did ask also, always, how can we improve? What would you have liked to see? And a lot of you said, I want to do more. Because remember, remote is allowing you remote access to that Jace or that supervisor. So it matters what version of the Niagara framework you have on the other side. It matters what features and functionality you have on the other side. And so you wanted to be able to do more in those web views. Well, if you've seen any of the announcements or you're participating in EA and you've seen the things that you can do in 414, 414 will be the beginning of that answer because it allows you to do more with the remote on the other side of it. So you might have seen this already. The HTML5 web views that are a lot of the new ones that you'll see here, those are coming in 414. So if you had a concern during beta, yeah, this was really good. This was great for an end user. This is great for my techs in the field. I want to do more from an SI perspective. I need to do a little bit more from a management perspective. Boom, we're giving it to you in 414. So keep your eyes open for when 414 is available because if you're using remote already and then you upgrade to 414 because you have an active SMA and you stay on top of your versions, don't you? You have that. Then you get to see all the goodness that comes on the other side. So that's probably going to answer a lot of the questions and problems that you guys have. Next up, you heard me talk. You've seen the slides. And now you get to see it in action. So I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Mamajek, and he's going to show you Niagara Remote at work.
All right. Let me share my screen. Okay. So just to check, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Good. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of break this up into little chunks. I'm going to log in to show you what remote is, show you the experience with a I'm an admin user because I'm going to kind of do the demo all in one chunk. So I'll show you how I can use it as an integrator to go in and edit things. And then I'll show you with some of the UI what a customer gets. And I'll kind of walk you through some of the pieces to the puzzle. And then just so that I don't lock myself out in the demo, I'm going to show you the user access and show you how in the portal you can say, hey, this person only has remote access, or they can actually see other services and things of that nature. So I'll flip to a different browser on that because I'm going to log in as a different user that has admin rights. So keep in mind that this is the service. And once I get on there, part of what's cool about remote is I can actually get in and show you services and we can look at them without having that VPN. And I also want to stress that when you think about what's going to happen here, right? I'm going to, oops, hold on a sec. See, this is when I talk too much or I sit and wait and didn't click. I got booted out. So there's my two-factor authentication. I'm going to head and prove my, on that, that's on my phone, by the way. Oops, it's the same, there it is. So that's how I two-factor in. I get the notification on my phone that I've asked to get in. It authenticates me, and then boom. Now, I'll show you after how the access rights are, but I've logged in as a user, a customer user. So I have limited access to the devices that that customer might have. So you can have a customer that wants access to all the devices, or you might just have somebody that, hey, you want access to your building. All of that's handled with the users within the portal on who gets access to what, and I'll demonstrate that. But I have access out of, I think I have 9 JACEs. I have access to 3 of them, and I have full access as a user, and I'll explain that. So since these devices subscribe to all 3 services, in the subscribe services that you see right here, I'll see that I have data services running, which we have a TridiumTalk on. You'll see that there's a recover service running, which is the backup, right? The backup, and later on do we actually do cloud restores when we get the components into the core. And then there's remote. So obviously this TridiumTalk is on remote, so I'm going to remote into this JACE. So just to set the stage, because this kind of blows your mind. I'm in our corporate office, so I'm on the corporate network. This JACE, which I put on purpose, is actually at my house, which is behind 2 routers. I actually protect, I don't trust the cable company's router, so I have this thing on the Xfinity network, and then I have another router that makes sure that there are no incoming port scans and things of that nature. So this is running on that JACE on a completely different secure network. I'm on a secure network, and then I'm going to now remote into that JACE, right? So this is like the magic trick, right? So the other thing I want to put the caveat here is this is not a VPN, right? A VPN will connect me from my laptop to the network that I'm connecting to. So right now, in this instance, it's like the web browser on my computer goes through the Niagara Cloud Suite. It grabs my hand and says, okay, you want to do a remote connect. And it leads me over through all this encrypted stuff to the web service of my JACE and says, here you are. That's what you see right here. I have a connection that is encrypted to my JACE as if I was on the network, but this is the only service I have access to. I can't see anything else that's plugged into that Ethernet port, right? I only have access to the web service. So this is, again, some of the secure components. I don't necessarily need access, right? I just need access to that particular piece of hardware. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. And I logged in as admin. Like I said, I'm going to preface it. I could go and switch users, but I want to kind of walk you through what happens, right? So Niagara Cloud doesn't set access rights on the actual JACE, right? That's part of Niagara. So if I had this plumbed, all my users are local. If I had it plumbed to an LDAP server, it would go and get those users. But we just connect the browser to the actual web service, and then I have to authenticate in there. So if I have several users that only have read access and I log in and I authenticate through the portal, that's the same access that I get. So there's nothing that the cloud is doing to override access. All that is doing is facilitating you are who you are. You're allowed to connect to that device, and then we're going to connect you to that device through the browser. So just as, and I saw it actually in the questions as I was watching, that was why my page timed out. Um, and Nicole alluded to it. We've been on this journey for the last few years. I've been here 7 years, right? And so every release we come out with, there's more HTML versions of the components we want. And we've heard over and over that, we want to have, we don't necessarily want Workbench, right, on the network. I don't want to require a laptop to connect to these devices. And so the more we've added into the Niagara components, the more I can do. Remote right now is actually extremely feasible because I can get to pretty much anything that I need, right? There are some things we can't, and that's what's coming in 4.14. And I'm waiting for the day I can actually edit PX pages. But as those build out, remote just inherits that, right? I can get to the functionality of that particular supervisor and Jace. So I'm going to log in. I'm in the admin. So for all those on the call that are SIs and integrators, I have full access to wire sheets and I have full access to the actual station. So if I was a user, right, I wouldn't see the config folder. I would just be dumped into my PX pages that I have access to. But this is the power of this is that with this version, and I'm running 4.13 at home, so I'm not running any beta version, and I'll show you some of the components that we do. So I have, and the reason why I chose this for home, and I'll just kind of double click it and start to show you some of the interface here, is I set up a weather station at my house. I got frustrated with the National Weather Service servers dropping all the time, and I would get these gaps in my data. So I wrote these little analytics to help smooth those out, but I'm like, I have the temperature. Let's get the temperature at my house. So I set up this weather station. It calls another cloud to get the data, and then Niagara is recording it all. So this is the interface, the PX pages that I designed for that weather station. And I'm going to show you another cool thing on, since this is just a web connection, some of the things you can do with some of our third-party plugins. But I'm just going to go ahead and click. So I designed this to say, all right, here's for this, I have 4 sensors running around in multiple places. And then I have an outdoor sensor, an outdoor rain thing. So I just built pages to say, hey, the pressure is, how is it trending? So right now it's not trending up or down. I can see what the CO2 level is of these. I can see the temperature out of that space. I've got an outdoor module, so I can go in there and I can look at, okay, the low that the module recorded for today. So that was, midnight. I was at 26 degrees and I put a little snow icon there. I thought that was clever. But I'm into this PX page. So in Nicole's example of a customer, right, with the COVID pandemic, that was a lot of time. When I started talking to people with cloud, the customers were saying, I don't have access to the building. It's occupied and I need to tell it it's unoccupied. So I'm going to have to get in the car and drive there and actually unoccupy that building because I don't have a tool. I don't have VPN set up and so forth. So there's a lot of customers that don't have some sophisticated network access. Think small customers, things of that nature. So this allows me to get this URL, and I want to show you this too. So you see this bookmark or this URL? This URL is unique to my device. It doesn't disclose or show where it's connected, what customer, what IP address, because that's what all the security is about. But it's smart enough to know that, hey, I'm Kevin, and you have access to that device, and I'm going to create a special link for you so that you can get back to that device. So I could be on my iPad, bookmark this, and then I don't have to go to Niagara Cloud to log in because I'll just hit the bookmark and it will say, oh, Kevin, please authenticate. Give me your credentials. All right, 2-factor. You're good to go. And here you are. So this is very cool in that aspect of the bookmarks for end users. And then I have access to unoccupy, whatever I was given in Niagara, I have full access to that. Okay, so I have access to the displays. I have access to the dashboards. I can change things as a user depending on how much user rights that I have. Now, I'm quite proud of my PX page, but there are a lot better systems to do UIs. So what I'll do is I'm going to kind of jump back and show you. I put reflow onto this machine. So what I'll do is, oops, I don't want to go there. I'm going to go here. So reflow now is running also on that machine. So I can display all my legacy PX pages. And then if I have reflow running, I can get access to its services because they're all web services, right? So when I connect to here, you'll see that I have access to the UI of the building. And I've created some fancy graphics. So here I can see, I can do a weather map. I can pull in sensors for the main dashboard. I can see what the weather forecast is. I can have default graphs for this particular user. All of that is set up, and I'm just using Reflow to kind of build out my card-faced interface here. So you can see I have office parts per minute. During COVID, I got kind of obsessed with CO2. So I have BACnet stats that have CO2 readings so that I can see what they average out to and things of that nature. So we were all back then trying to figure out how we can clean air, and then all of a sudden we find out the particle is actually too small to capture in an M35 mask. So, but anyways, this is an idea of, again, if you've invested in this solution, remote ties in very good, right? And they don't have to, I don't have to have this exposed to the internet. I don't have to have this. I can have it inside my firewall. Remote gives me that connection into the actual interface of the Jace. Just like I said, we take the browser, we go through this tunnel encryption stuff, and then boom, I'm at the web service of that Jace or that supervisor. Okay. And then I can do all kinds of things in that nature on the displays. So if I look at this folder, I have, actually, it's right here. I have this play here. Lots of people are logging in. So this user is admin. So I have Wiresheet rights, access rights. So this is where the power comes in. I can actually have some kind of, and this happens to me all the time, where I put something on the Jace, I come to the office, and then I'm like, that's not the logic I wanted to use. I needed the less than or the greater than, right? And so I would have to wait until I went home because I don't have any port forwarding. I don't have any VPN access to that Jace. It is isolated on that network. Here I can now log in and I can actually do Wiresheet changes and logic to update whatever I put in place. Recommission, a customer complains that I need to balance this VAV series a little better, right? I can now not go to that location. I can actually remote in and do that logic. So there is a palette, right? And I have access to kit control. So what I'll do is just do a little math here. Let's say logic. We want to, let's see, hot or cold. Let's say if it's less than or equal to, right, 32, we can get, take the 32, put it in B, take the output. So I also have the weather station I have, everything is in Celsius. So I do a little conversion to bring it to Fahrenheit. So I'm going to just grab that and drag that in. So I've just done some, I'm not getting too sophisticated here, but I've just done some Wiresheet logic where I've wired up that I now have an indicator that I can use that it's below freezing. That's exactly how I did my little icon for snow, right? So when I pulled up the history, I said, oh, what's the lowest temperature you got? That it is. I can now do logic and display something for the customer. So this is extremely powerful. I cannot tell you how many times I use this now because I don't have to worry about, oh, am I in the home office today or this? If I'm at home, I have access to my Jaces on my secure network on the lab, right? So this is extremely powerful. I can't stress that enough. So that's a little bit about how things are used in remote. I'm not, remote is the magic that's doing the connection. The rest of the stuff that I've again seen questions for are the HTML views. So in 413, just so that you know, I can go in here into the BACnet network, right? And I can actually discover BACnet devices through the HTML, right? So I have a discover button. That we're almost, when you look at how much we are, 414 is going to bring us so close to the 98%, right? And I think the PX is the last piece of the puzzle. 414, which is in beta, has the LAN component for this. So think this, right? I'm the uh, engineer for Niagara. Somebody's on site, they install a new rooftop. They put it onto the BACnet bus, whether it's on the IP network or on the MSTP network, and then I'm in a different location, do a discover, and I bring it in, right? That's the cool things about this is I no longer will need to have Workbench on a laptop to do that commissioning and that connection because the stack, right? The Niagara stack has all of that functionality built in. So I can just connect and off to the races I go. So just to kind of snap back then, so let me look at my notes here. So we did two-factor, I connected to remote, we showed reflow, we showed the wire seat. So let me go and show you real quick the service, and this is a review. So we actually have some trainings that we've got that we're posting that will walk you through the components here. But this is the magic that makes it so easy for us to connect and not worry about all the heavy lifting to do for data service, right? For backup and restore. These are these items that come down in these channels. And so what's cool is whatever product you subscribe to, it's the same service, right? Because that's the secure piece on how we secure each piece and do the identity management so that only the cloud and that component can talk to each other and encrypt all that data. So all I have to do is drop that into that Jace or that supervisor, right? And then authenticate it to the cloud to say, yep, I have a subscription, and it does the rest, right? So I can start out with data service, and then I could subscribe to the recover, and the service will get the cue that, hey, the recover's now there, and it will turn on the recover channel. Oh, I got remote. It'll turn on the remote transport. So I don't have to go back and touch that for those subscriptions. Those are all automatic. So very powerful in that aspect. So that's a little bit about the service. I think we're going to do some, well, we're definitely doing a deep dive on this at the summit this year. And then you'll see some videos come out on the tips just to kind of walk through how the service works and what the workflow is and so forth. And we actually have that in the training department, and they're going to post some links to that as well. So that's a little bit about the service. And what I'll do is, if I haven't been logged out, I'll snap over here to this user. So this, if you look at NSB Systems Engineering, that's the customer. That's me, but that's the customer. And so this belongs into, I have an OEM that I put the data into. So somebody doesn't have access to my credentials, but they have access to onboard me into this private container. And so this is my data. No other data that lives in here can go out to any other customer. We're not putting the data into a relational database and then that same database has all the customer data. This is my data. This is my backups, and it's secure in that way. So I only have access to these components. But if you look here, I'll flip up. This is how we have access, right, set up. So when I subscribe to remote, everybody comes in, right, from your company that you want access to the remote comes in with no access, right? We default to it ain't happening, right? So I would go in and say custom. So at that point in time, I could just add remote for me. And by the way, I can choose which Jaces or soups I can remote into. Or what I can do is I could give myself admin privilege. Well, I can't give myself admin. They could give me admin privileges, and then I can actually do all of the service. I could see the data graphs, I could see the backups, and I can see that. Or I can go in and be set as a user where I see just a little bit more, right? So keep that in mind. These are roles that I set in the cloud to authenticate. It does not give me any kind of access right inside of Niagara itself. Just brings me to the front door of allowing me to connect to that. So again, I can get very selective on if I want access to a certain JACE, not access to a certain JACE. I can remove these roles. I can add these roles. We can make, populate the privileges to essentially let you be this customer be the admin or an actual user where you restrict to what they can get to. Okay. And so that kind of brings up the whole process of the subscriptions, right? So I have data service running. So I have data that's going up there that allows me, this is kind of a quick review, right? I can give third parties API keys and then they get access to my data, and I can revoke that access so that if I don't want them to have access. So I used Grafana, which is running in another cloud, to hit my historical data from my JSON home. So you'll see that I've got some CO2 readings. I actually thought this was pretty cool to put a history on my CPU usage and memory. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. So I built that dashboard out, right? So I have access to those types of things for restore or recover. I have access to all those backups, right? So those are there. Those are, by the way, encrypted with my passphrase on my JSON. So you need to know the passphrase of that. But I can download that and then do a recovery. So all three services self-configure depending on what you have subscribed to. So that is, in a nutshell, a little bit of review of the three services, but how remote can be used in a station or a supervisor. So with that, I will turn it back to Nicole and we can take a look at a few questions.
Thank you, Kevin. Let me go back to sharing. All right. So before I go through this, I know that we don't have reactions, and I feel like I need reactions added in any of my webinar. But can everybody thank Kevin and give a round of applause for him? Do you know who Kevin is? Kevin, before unmute yourself and introduce you, because I don't think that you introduced everybody, so I don't think they know who you are. Can you tell everybody who you are?
Well, it depends on if they see the tech tips. Then they know who
Assume they
I
don't
am.
know.
Yeah. I'm Kevin. Well, this is one of those. I'm Kevin Mamajek. I'm a Tridium sales engineering manager. So I actually have a team of SEs, which I know most of you know, and we essentially know the platform. We work with customers and engineerings and SIs and OEMs to understand the new features of Niagara. We take feedback back to engineering on things that you're requesting us to build out. So I'm sure I've met a lot of you. I'll be at the summit.
Yes.
Hopefully you guys will be too. Oh, that's a shameless plug, right?
Oh, it'll be plugged again before we end. Thank you. All right. So after that wonderful product demo and everything I said, let's go back to this. Why Niagara Remote? I don't even have to say this because I think that you've seen it. I actually have already had somebody email me and we've seen it in the chat. You guys are interested. Definitely interested in it. And I think it's been proven. So there's a couple of things that you can do with this, right? You can decide right away you want to buy it today. And we were not stopping. You buy it today. Man, you have a way to buy it today because the page will be live. It'll be available on the price list. We have our feature overview that'll have the pricing on there for those of you who have been asking about pricing. Give everybody a time to ramp off because remember, you're getting this hot off the press. This just released today. So it's going to need to matriculate through there. But some of you have been waiting with bated breath for this. So you might already have it in your pocket. But pricing is available. Your Tridium partner should have it very soon if they don't have it already. I'll be talking to our sales team a little bit more to make sure they have it. And again, on our Niagara Cloud Suite page, you'll be able to see that. And our pricing is always on the feature over. There's a pricing page in the feature overview for Niagara Remote. So when we talked about Niagara Cloud Suite, and we've talked about Remote today, hot off the press, Recover, which launched last October. What I consider these is really, these are automatic, right? If you care about what it is that you're doing, if you care about what it takes to be able to serve and deliver to your customer or run your business, then having a good backup and having remote access, they're par for the course, right? You gotta have it. But if you have questions on what that looks like and you want to test that out a little bit before you purchase that outright, then what we're doing is we're going to allow you to do a test run of extending that Niagara framework to the cloud. If you haven't done it already with data service, you hadn't done it already with Recover, and now there's Remote that's here, and you want to try that, we're going to allow you the opportunity for a 90-day trial. So I have a wonderful QR code here on the right, and I'm assuming that you're not watching this Tridium Talk on your phone, or you have an extra phone, but you can scan that QR code. And from there, you'll get a page that gives you all the information that you need to know about our 90-day trial program. It gives you more information on Niagara Recover. It gives you more information on Niagara Remote. And from there, you'll have your next steps on how you can start a 90-day trial from it. And of course, you can always reach out to your Tridium partner for the same information for that. If you don't have your phone, or if you are viewing this from your phone, you can't scan the QR code, then you also can go to our website, because from our website, the banner at the top will be able to show and talk about extending the Niagara framework to the cloud. And you'll be able to click that link. And from there, you'll still be able to get to that landing page for this. We want you to be able to have a chance to be able to leverage this. We know how excited you are. I know that it's useful to you. I know that both of these are things that you need. I just want you to see it for yourself. The same way that everybody else that's done beta for these products have seen how useful it is, I want you to see it. So I'm going to give you a chance to do a 90-day trial of that. And again, you don't have to do a 90-day trial to leverage this. I would love for you to just purchase this right now. All right. So let's talk about resources and materials. This is another thing that's available now. Again, I love QR codes. I want to make this easy for you to get to where you need to be. You need to get to this training, because I've worked with our wonderful instructors at Tridium University, and there is a new Niagara Remote training that you can go. Kevin did such a deep dive today. I don't know if you need much more, but if you need more and you don't want to have to, now remember, this is recorded, so you can always go back and refer to this session as a one-stop shop for that. But also in Tridium University, there is an e-learning course that you can take, and you can share that with others in your organization as well. It'll give you information on Niagara Remote. It'll be a little quiz at the end of it, and boom, you passed the class, and now you understand more about Niagara Remote. So you can either go to Tridium University and search for Niagara Remote from there. There's actually a link to it on the Niagara Remote webpage on Tridium.com, or you can scan the QR code and you can go directly to there. Now, remember, everything when you access any of our resources, you need to be part of the Niagara community. So hopefully you already have a login. If you haven't already, then there's an easy way for you to do that from our website as well. And welcome to getting more information about Tridium from that community. Where can you find more Tridium talks? So the navigation is at the top. Again, you go to Tridium.com and you'll be able to see their services and support, events. And from the events page, you'll be able to go through the entire library of previous Tridium talks we have. And I highlighted a few here that are specifically that we've done on Niagara Cloud Suite. The first one that was done last year for Niagara Data Service. The second one, another one that was done for Niagara Recover, when we talked about that to prepare in combination with the launch of that. And then the last one that we had that also got amazing buzz and support and got a lot of people digging and wanting to know more about Niagara Data Service was the power of Niagara Data Service with our special guest Alexa. You can go to that page and you can go back and look at any of these at any time. Those recordings are always available. You want to know more about pro tips? Same thing. You can go to that same section and we have a YouTube page there. And subscribe. Don't just go view, subscribe. Kevin might actually be able to get a check from this one.
No, we don't put the commercials in. I hate
Right.
my
We're
hair.
not
Look
gonna
at my
we're not
hair.
gonna monetize, but we want to know besides the views that you care enough. So subscribe to our YouTube channel and go find out more on our tech tips.
Just you got to watch my videos, not James, because James and I are in competition. He's always
So
winning.
today starts the competition. We're gonna see who gets the more views, James or Kevin. Starts today. We'll check back in 30 days.
He's gonna win.
Yeah, he's gonna win.
You're not supposed to agree, Nicole.
I love you. I do. You know I love you. All
Uh,
right. So before we end today, another shameless plug, but not. But that's because I know this is where another thing that you need. One, it's Niagara Summit. Everybody loves Niagara Summit. It only happens every 2 years, so you get a chance to build that anticipation up. You don't have to wait much longer. April 15th and 17th, join us. Now, if you want the early bird rate, you need to hurry because it expires February 11th. But we want to see you there. And then second, do you see this beautiful picture? Does that not look relaxing? You see palm trees. That's just an indication of great weather and great times. It's in Anaheim. So another wonderful QR code in the corner that you can use. Come see us at Niagara Summit. We'll be talking about all the latest things. Of course, we'll be talking about Niagara Cloud Suite. You'll get to hear more about the JS 9000. You'll get to hear more about 414, all the great things we have from us, as well as our partners. So join us April 15th to 17th, Anaheim, California. Catch the early bird rate. I want to see you there. So before we end today, again, I want to thank you. I've already thanked Kevin. I could do anything with Kevin. I love his energy, and we get things done together. But thank you for taking time out of your day for joining us today to learn about Niagara Remote. Thank you for deciding that you want to purchase Niagara Remote, or thank you for deciding that you're interested in our 90-day trial program and you want to try the evaluation path. Thank you. So if you want to learn more about how to purchase Niagara Remote, contact your Tridium account manager or Niagara partner. Have a great day.
Yep. And just to let you know, we'll also post these questions on the web so that you'll be able to have reference to those. And again, I want to thank to our engineers who helped create this Niagara Cloud Suite because they've been answering your questions and you've had some very good questions. So thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you to our engineers. Thank you, Chris.